Welcome to Mother-Daughter Projects. I'm Vicki. TotalBoat, our favorite epoxy company, now sells silicone charcuterie molds. We saw them advertised in our newsletter and promptly ordered them. If you're new to working with epoxy, these molds will set you up for success with their ease of use. I'm using TotalBoat tabletop epoxy and mica pigments. Be sure you read all the precautions and use appropriate PPE. This epoxy is mixed in a 1-to-1 ratio, which means you use the same amount of hardener and resin, which are mixed together, and together they make epoxy. Once mixed, I'm portioning it out into separate containers to add the mica pigment. These powdered mica pigments are a great way to add color. TotalBoat sells them as well as other epoxy companies. Start with a small amount, as a little goes a long way. That's why I like those little small stirrers, as you can control how much you use. Give them a stir and then they are ready to use. Now, if you don't stir them thoroughly, you're going to see spots of pigment in your final project. I'm just pouring randomly into the mold. Really, just have fun with it. I'm wearing gloves as well as eye protection, an N95 mask, the garage is open, and the air filtration is on. Read the instructions for the epoxy you are using, as they are not all a 1-to-1 ratio mix. This measuring cup works really well, and once the epoxy is cured, it usually removes easily from the cup. We get ours at the local Dollar Tree. I'm using a heat gun to pop the air bubbles. It takes care of the bubbles really quickly, but word of warning, keep the heat gun moving so you don't accidentally burn the epoxy. For some added sparkle, I'm sprinkling on some fine iridescent silver white glitter-like pigment powder. I was glad I was wearing a mask, as it flew and stayed suspended in the air for a long time. I left the epoxy to set up for about 20 minutes before attempting to make a pattern. If you do it before it's set up, the epoxy will continue to self-level and your pattern will be lost. Once it's set up, I made a very simple pattern with a coffee stick. The pattern is whatever you want it to be. I used the same pattern on another board, but added 3 lines pulled through the pattern. I watch a lot of epoxy videos to get inspiration, and you can do the same thing. Just have fun with it. I cleaned up the edge of the mold and then hit it again with a heat gun. I did go back over it one more time just to give it a little more interest in the pattern. See how that silver glitter sparkles? Now walk away and leave it alone. After letting it cure for about 24 hours, the cured epoxy pops easily and cleanly out of the mold. You'll notice there's a raised edge on the epoxy board. This is unavoidable, as with any type of plastic or silicone mold, the epoxy will climb up the sides, leaving this raised edge. A little wet sanding will easily take care of this. I'm using 320 grit wet dry sandpaper because that's what I had on hand. I sprayed it down with water and got started. Then I simply turned the board over and gently sanded the edges in a circular motion. You can tell it is working as the water on the sandpaper is turning white. I cut a small piece of sandpaper to sand the handle, as it was really awkward to work on. If you're going to hang your board as decoration, then sanding is not necessarily needed. Steph is going to do both. Use them as they are intended, and also she'll hang them as art when not in use, so we did sand these. We used 3M hooks to hang them in the kitchen window, which already has an epoxy sun catcher. And here are the various boards in use. Of course, you can use them for a fancy charcuterie spread, or just for a simple hummus and non-snack. Or as a place to hold your beverage and snack while watching some YouTubes. And if you're like Steph, maybe you use it to serve your greyhounds a treat. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.